allegations against Temple's chapter of Alpha Epsilon Pi aren't the only ones plaguing the organization. Just this year, Washington University, Syracuse, as well as Florida State University have all had their chapters under investigation. The first step to preventing the flu is simple. And it all starts with washing your hands. Now, Brandon Graham was part of that electric slide we saw this past weekend against the Bears. We asked him if we'd be seeing those moves again this week against the Seahawks. He said they're coming up with new dance moves, and we'll just have to tune in to see what those are. Elijah was walking to his car just 2 blocks south of main campus when he was attacked by those teens right here on this street. All eyes have been on Pennsylvania this week after the Supreme Court released its own version of the congressional district map. A Republican majority drew this map back in 2011, considered one of the most gerrymandered in the country. Within seconds of the Eagles clinching the NFC East division title, these shirts were rolling out by the rack by those Modell employees just in time for these Eagle fans right here to walk in the door. While the State of the Union address tonight is the perfect opportunity for President Trump to advance his policy for the upcoming year, these people out here tonight thought it was the perfect opportunity to let their president know exactly how they feel about it. Good afternoon, Kelly. All eyes are on President Trump as he prepares to give his first State of the Union address. Now, the last time he addressed Congress was back in February, shortly after his inauguration, but that's not considered a State of the Union. Now, there's no time limit on how long he can speak tonight. Back in 2000, President Bill Clinton set the record for the longest address at just under 90 minutes, while the shortest goes to President Ronald Reagan back in 1986 at just 31 minutes. President Trump's speech back in February, just over an hour. But it's not how long he'll speak tonight, but what he will say in that room that has Washington and the rest of the country on the edge of their seats. We spoke with some local Pennsylvania representatives here in Washington about what they're hoping to hear from the president tonight.
I think he got a chance to make a course correction if he wants to make the course correction. But I hate to tell you, history has shown that that's not been his behavior or his style.
Ahead of the president's first State of the Union address, Congressman Dwight Evans says this could be the time for Trump to lead a more bipartisan agenda.
Issues such as education, issues such as environment, issues such as energy, issues such as the economy, what I call the 4 E's, are very important, and those are the things that I hope to be working on. But we need to do it as bipartisan, not as Democrat versus Republican.
Fellow Pennsylvania Congressman Scott Perry agrees that education and affordability are among the things that people will be looking to hear from the president as he lays out his plan for the coming year.
If you're just graduating college, are there opportunities out there for me to do the job that I want to do, to have the career that I want? Can I afford it?
Perry, a brigadier general in the Pennsylvania National Guard, said that national security is something most Americans are concerned about these days.
Generally speaking, they just want to know that the country's safe. They got North Korea, you got things happening in Syria, Iran. So I think most people want to just have some sense that the world is still safe.
But none of this will be possible, according to Evans, until the president begins to unify the legislative body.
If you give him a grade about his relationship with Congress, I mean, you have to give him a fail grade because he hasn't used the bully puppet in a way of bringing people together. He has been, pitting one against the other, and I think that's been a problem.
Although they may sit on different sides of the aisle, both Evans and Perry are hopeful as they head into the chamber tonight to hear President Trump's address.
The President of the United States.
I mean, I hope he will realize the opportunity that he has and not be doing what he has done in the past, because I think that's counterproductive.
It's President Trump, so it could go just about anywhere.
Now, after the State of the Union address, Representative from Massachusetts Joe Kennedy III will give the Democratic response. It's a pretty symbolic choice by the party. He's seen as a rising Democratic star, and he's also the grandson of Bobby Kennedy and the great-nephew of President John F. Kennedy. Now, a number of Democrats have announced they will boycott the State of the Union. That includes Representative John Lewis, citing the president's recent statements on race. Others, such as Congressman Dwight Evans, announced they plan to bring a guest that represents the recent movement to shed light on sexual harassment and assault. Now, there are sure to be many memorable moments tonight that will play out across social media as the evening progresses. You can give us a follow at Temple Update and use the hashtag TUTV at SOTU to join the conversation. In Washington, for Temple Update, I'm Cassie Semyon. Kelly, back to you in the studio.
I've been just a person like breaking the law smoking weed.
Ben Saeed was just 15 when he was faced with unimaginable pain. Treated with chemotherapy drugs, doctors finally diagnosed him with rheumatoid arthritis, an autoimmune disorder.
I was eventually faced with the decision of either going back to getting 2 needles in my arm every single week or trying this supposedly much safer alternative option.
Saeed received his medical marijuana card just 2 months ago, but has been treating himself for years.
Felt like I was doing something wrong, like I was a delinquent of some sort.
But despite being legal, Saeed still hasn't been able to get to a dispensary.
But right now, it is pretty difficult for some patients to get to the dispensaries.
Down in Old City, Dr. Matthew Roman's medical marijuana clinic helps his patients get into Pennsylvania's program.
A lot of doctors still are against it.
But with growing support, he expects those long lines and high prices to come down soon.
What has happened in the past was just natural growing pains of a new program.
For students like Ben, medical marijuana is limited around Temple, but a new effort here at Temple Med could change that. A Temple official involved with the project told us the university is partnering with Laurel Harvest Labs to study medicinal marijuana. They'll be applying for permission from the state in the coming weeks. Saeed, a film student, is currently working on a documentary that chronicles his journey.
I'm trying to explore the idea that further marijuana legalization will help end the opiate crisis.
Saeed hopes to release his documentary next year. For Temple Update, I'm Cassie Semyon. After fighting to maintain Temple's state funding back in October, President Englert returned to the state capitol on Tuesday. He spoke with the Senate Appropriations Committee and answered their questions about why state funding is so important to Temple's operation.
If we can just reach them and give them the opportunity, they will soar.
President Englert seemed confident Tuesday during his testimony before the Senate Appropriations Committee. He, along with his counterparts from Lincoln, Pitt, and Penn State, made the annual trip to the state capitol to appeal for the continuation of financial support for state institutions.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here.
Englert spoke about the opioid crisis and student safety, but the big topic of the day, keeping college affordable.
Your $150 million Commonwealth appropriation to Temple University actually leverages a significant savings to our students.
1 in 7 Philadelphians have attended Temple University, a number the president credits to low tuition rates.
Some families, when they see a high sticker price, immediately they don't even consider going to college.
$156 million. That's how much Temple received last year from the state. And while the new state budget is still up and coming, North Philadelphia community members are concerned that those funds could be used towards an on-campus stadium. And that, they say, would be crossing a line.
We don't want not one dime of Commonwealth dollars devoted to the creation of a stadium in our community.
Temple's latest renderings were submitted to the city last month for approval. But funds for a potential stadium would come from donors, not taxpayers. Despite having to wait for a new budget to see how much the university will receive, President Englert believes the committee will approve the funding.
There is no better investment for a Commonwealth appropriation than to invest in higher education.
Now, the Stadium Stompers will hold a community meeting tonight at 6 p.m. at George Washington Carver High School. Members of the group told me that they did invite the university to attend the event, but a university spokesman told Temple Update this morning, quote, "We will not be attending the protest against the university being held tonight." Reporting live outside Sullivan Hall for Temple Update, I'm Cassie Semyon.